Whensday Warm-Up. For those of you who are watching for the first time, this is the Wednesday podcast. We have podcast shows every single day here on the Whensday Warm-Up. Monday to Friday. Most of them happen at 9 a.m. Then we've got one on a Tuesday every second week. That's Full Circle with Tessa Dooms that happens at 10:30. And then we've also got Gabfest on a Friday at 12 p.m. But it's so good to be here once again. And I'm joined by my trusty sidekick over here. Good morning, Jess. Hello.
Hello. Hi. How's it?
Lovely. And you?
Oh, not too bad.
Can't
not too bad. Yeah, no, I'm feeling much better today.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, I'm feeling like a person. Last week, I didn't look like a person. I didn't feel like a person.
Yes.
Today, I'm looking and feeling like a person.
But you did say last week when you walked on the show, I must fix my life and look at God.
Yeah.
He intervened. I'm so proud of you.
When God steps
in.
Man.
Man. You even like you looked yourself in the mirror and you said, "Self, I'm going to fix you." You got a haircut.
Yeah.
You fixed yourself. You know what I'm
saying?
saying?
I'm not now 100% with the sinuses and things.
Nah, but you move.
But I'm moving forward in the right direction.
I'm so happy.
Hallelujah.
Thank you. We praise God for good health and we thank God for...
And we have someone else here today.
Yeah.
Oh,
we was
long last on the show.
X
is here.
The Godfather.
I'm not that one.
Good morning, Xavier.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today.
It seems like Jesse steered Xavier. I know something is happening in
the atmosphere. He steered me on last week.
Because that's why you missed Monday your show on Monday.
Yeah, that's why I missed my show on Monday. But today I'm better.
I blame the school.
Yeah, you guys.
The children are getting sick at school and they bring their things here to the house. They come stick us on.
They step us on.
Focus on.
Hey, that's one of the colored stereotypes. Now, when I did a poll, they said, yeah, they like to say, yeah, stick you. Okay, now you are saying, baby. Okay, then we've got our gorgeous guest here in studio this morning. She was on last week and she's back and she's better, I believe, and she's looking so gorgeous.
Thank you.
Hey, Tashlyn Low, how you doing?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm very well, thank you. And how are you?
I'm lovely.
Perfect.
So it was raining these past couple of days. What kind of weather are you a fan of?
So I love summer. I love spring, guys. I love the warm days. I just feel like I can go out and have ice cream and have fun. But surprisingly, I loved this weather this week because I had so much work to do. So I was just in bed listening to lo-fi, doing my work with the rain.
Girl.
You know when it rains and you have that perfect sleep?
Ooh.
But I don't know if anyone else is like me when you see the lightning and you immediately close your ears because I'm scared of thunder.
Yeah.
But I enjoyed this weather. I really did.
Liquor. No, same, likewise.
You work better in this weather.
You do. You're more
It's
productive.
True, It's true. What? I wonder, we must actually research what is it about this weather. Yeah. I feel like I am.
You feel like you want to watch Netflix the whole day, though. I'm not going to lie. But I mean, if you're in the mood and you put on your earphones and you just start working, you can really go.
Flow.
You do.
You lose track of time.
You do.
I relate to that. I do. When the weather's like this, then I want to just
Hashtag unrelatable.
Hashtag unpopular opinion. You're wrong. But yes, we are here to have a very important conversation. We will continue from last week's conversation. We were speaking about gun violence in brown communities or racially classified colored communities. There was someone in the comments section last week that wanted to roll. Hey, it's always a roll. It's always a roll array. Gloves on and we are in the ring. Guns blazing. Hey, the irony, bro.
Roll.
So this person said, I'm a colored person. What do you mean brown? Since when are we brown? Indian and Asians are brown. To answer you, Angelo, for the sake of the conversation, we use that term. I use that term preferentially. And if you go and rewatch the show, I mean, if that's the only thing that you got from the show, then I'm sorry about that. It was an hour and 16 minutes long, but that's the only part that you could take out from it. So if that's what you took out from it, then good on you. But I just want to clarify once again. I did mention that I choose to not associate with the term colored. Then I said, but there is a vast majority of colored people that still choose to assimilate. And that's fine. It's your personal preference. But I do think that for the sake of the conversation, let us not focus on these silly things. Things like the kind of words that we're using. Let's
focus on Samantha.
Samantha, let us focus on the issue at hand, the issue that comes up. And the reason why I choose not to identify with the term colored, and I'll tell you now, because politically, legislatively, it boxes us in. If you look at the Constitution and the way that it's written and the way that we still have the racial classifications from the past, it does put us at a disadvantage. That's why, for the sake of the conversation, especially when it comes to colored issues, that's the reason why I put that out as a disclaimer, that I do not choose to assimilate or to associate with the term colored, because I do not want to be boxed and I do not want to miss out on opportunities that the rest of South Africa are getting because of this past racial classification. Now that that is out of the way, we'll go over into the markets. Jess, over to you with market news. Let us know.
In market news today,
reporting live from next to Lee.
Right here in studio. So yeah, in market news, people are gonna judge, but I tend not to look much at the ZAR. I know it is in our country, but I always look at the dollar, because what happens to the dollar usually affects us.
Truth.
So dollar is actually weakening, surprisingly. But it might not be long.
But those of us get paid in dollar, that's alright.
Yeah, no.
So the dollar is weakening, reason being there is talks around that the Fed might not have such a hawkish interest rate decision. So they might not increase the interest rate by 75 basis points. It might be something less, or they might just keep it where it is at this point in time, which will weaken the US dollar.
Sure.
But
was this the inevitable that was bound to happen?
Not necessarily, because when you listen to Paul and all of them talk, they make it quite clear that they're looking to increase the interest rate. So this is just things that's going around. We don't know if they will increase it, or if they keep it the same, or if they won't push it up by that much, maybe 45 or 35 basis points. But 75 basis points is a lot. So that's the talk of the town, to say that they're not going to push it up by that much, which will weaken the dollar at this point in time.
But the dollar was on a hectic bull run.
Yeah, the dollar's been pushing up.
Too much.
And then also, stocks started pushing up yesterday. Reason being because of that news that the Fed might not increase the interest rate by that much, which increased the stocks. But it was short-lived, because stocks earnings were released by, it was Google and Microsoft released.
There's more releases today also.
Yeah, there's more releases today. And the releases came out a bit negative, so that kind of brought the stocks back down again. So yeah, we'll see on the 4th of November, we have Fed interest rates. That's when the decision will be made. That's when we'll see either the dollar's going to strengthen by much more, or it's just going to weaken and continue falling.
So the 4th is next week, Friday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then in other news, in South Africa, we have water shedding and load shedding, and now we might see fuel shedding.
Yes, I heard about that. I was like, wow, it's just a shedding.
So yeah, we're talking
Level 5 fuel sharing, you can only put 10 rand in at a time. Right from here down the road, you stuck.
Some of us ain't complaining about just putting that little in, But yeah, we might see fuel shedding. I tried reading up on it and all that, but
Boring.
yeah, it's not really. I'm not really grasping what they're saying in there and all that. But yeah, we might see fuel shedding. Yesterday we were saying, we have water shedding, now fuel shedding.
They're taking us back to the stone.
And water shedding.
No power,
Water
no
shedding
water,
sounds like,
no
we were saying water shedding sounds like something fun that you should be. Are you going water shedding today? Yeah.
For real?
No. We're gonna go water shedding. Come, let's go.
It does sound
And
good.
now they're making this.
People are like, water shedding. Yo, is H2O back?
Duck party.
Water park.
Yeah, but
Without the water.
without the water.
So they can't call it H2O anymore. If they're planning to have an H2O
Need a
event.
new name.
Yeah, at
Yeah,
which
no.
point do we just leave South Africa?
It's either just H or O.
They have to choose.
Now it's
I
war.
don't know. I don't know. Cho.
Oh.
Open a tap, no water. Whoa.
I mean, we really at that point. Yo,
Yo.
Switch on the plug, no lights. Whoa.
it's
what must we do?
that, bruh. Yo.
That's a good
Go
one.
back to
I
the
don't
bucket
make it a
system.
joke, but it's literally like that.
Yeah, no.
You wake up and you don't know what to find. The first thing you wake up, you put a light on to see the lights on.
Yeah, you know, sure. I have a TV in my room and there's this red light. So I open my eyes, see
To
the
see
red
the
light
red
on.
light.
You see, the red light is off, low chain. Red light is on. Then I can say,
But
it's gonna go off now.
but do you guys ever because with load shedding, right? That sometimes you even forget to put you forget to top up on your electricity, and then you're like, is it now load shedding or did
I just not buy lights?
or did the lights go off or like?
I
That's
know
me.
when
That's
I look
me.
at a box and I see there's nothing on the box. Okay, we in load shedding. It just shows 0, 0, 0. Okay, it's my fault now.
But you
yeah,
still like
and,
you don't even have to buy
the
electricity.
UK have a new prime minister. That's
Yes.
it. Yeah.
And it's the youngest.
That was quick.
It's the
That didn't even last. They put a cabbage next to it to see if she's gonna last longer than a cabbage. The cabbage is still surviving.
I think
and
she
he
was
came
only in
out-
office for 48 days.
Yeah, and he came out.
Cabbage or watermelon.
His first thing is in his first speech, he says, I need to correct what Liz done wrong.
Yo.
I'm like, yo,
Hectic.
lady
How
wasn't
much
even
did
there
she do
for-
wrong in 1 week?
Clearly it was a lot because when you speak to people from the UK,
Yo.
they themselves starting to get load shedding.
Yeah, they've also got an energy crisis.
But look here, where can you go now? Because it's dear Makar
Everywhere,
You think you're
literally.
running from South Africa, you're like, Arazan worse. I might as well go back there.
No, really, eh?
So
It's
when
like,
you
I'm
listen
moving to
the people-
Australia.
yeah.
Khan. No one shall see you.
You'll be back.
You'll be back.
It's worse there. You won't have lights and a spider will kill you.
Endless snake.
And you'd have to get vaccinated by force.
By
So,
force.
yeah.
Sell.
And then, Kodongkwane, our Minister of Finance, is going to give his mini budget speech basically. And
That's
it's
gonna
quite...
move the exchange rate by 10 basis points.
No, but it's his medium-term budget policy statement that he's going to be delivering. And what is it's again, the ESCOM bailout is on that list. And then our public servants, right? Our service people are basically wanting an increase because they're saying that we are working tirelessly. We're talking about like your doctors, your nurses, your teachers. I guess the police would also fall part of that, which is something that we will be discussing today. So they want wage increases. And then some people are like, yeah, we get that, but we don't have the money for it. And then they're like, yeah, but on the other end, ministers, Cyril Ramaphosa said now the other day that they're going to... The ministers don't have to pay for water and electricity, and it's like, but they already getting the bulk of the budget, kind of a thing. They're already eating the bulk of the budget. Why don't you give the people that are on the ground that's doing the work? Why don't you give them increases like the service people?
But in real life
so-
in South Africa, when you hear that ESCOM is getting a bailout, the first thing, you can't tell me there's not a South African thinking, if those people now get, let's say, a 100 million rand bailout,
It's
you
in the
already
billions.
thinking to yourself, all right, who's going to take 30 mil, who's going to
Yeah.
take 40 mil, and then tomorrow you're just going to hear, ish, that whole 100 is gone
Yeah.
because of corruption. So it's like, what's the point? And now, but I don't think they understand because people are losing jobs, which means they can't pay tax. So at some point,
Yes.
the whole thing is just going to come full cycle and it's like, okay, now what must
But the
happen now?
cow is dry.
Because now there's no money coming in. You're like
The
eating
cash
everything.
cow
It's like,
is
so what must happen
dry.
now?
There is nothing left in the cash cow,
Now we
like
need
you
to
were
kill
saying.
a guy and make a steak.
Yeah, we're going to have to.
Now they want to charge us for solar. Alright, yeah.
User.
Did you see that boy on TikTok that was the redhead boy that was
Lord
praying?
Jesus,
He's like,
I don't want to
"And
charge us for the
Lord, and the sun is yours, Lord. No,
Amen.
ESCOM cannot do this." So cute. But now let's get into the conversation. This morning we are talking about guns and gangs. And specifically the two themes that we want to be speaking about is poverty and marginalization. Do you think that these are the results of continued and long-standing poverty and marginalization? And we're specifically speaking about the colored communities this morning, on this morning's show. We cannot deny, however, and this I must say, that there is gun violence and there is violence across South Africa. It's not unique to colored communities, but it is rampant specifically in poorer communities. But we're going to be speaking from a perspective of colored communities because we have a closer relationship to the communities, right? So we'll start off with you, Tashlyn. What is the situation that we are seeing from somebody who lives in the close to the community or lives in the community, one of the communities, and also just what you hear around? Like you were telling me the other day that adversity, you were speaking about on campus, you were speaking about the gun violence, and people were shocked. Like other people who don't live in the communities were like, what violence? Like, because it doesn't make mainstream media. And there already the theme of marginalization comes in, and we ask ourselves the question, is it a tactic by mainstream media? What is the propaganda agenda that they're trying to push? But from a person who lives in the community and somebody who has close relations with the community, what is it that you are seeing, the reality of the situation in communities?
Okay, so literally like you touched on, one of the things that sparked this conversation was I was at university and I was talking about, oh my word, another story just came out, like a young boy lost his life in this gang violence, and the response was, what do you mean another? What's been happening? And then I was like, okay, people actually don't know what's happening. So I think people that do live in the community or that do have close relation, we do know that there's young people that's losing their lives almost daily in gang violence territory, whether it's drug related or just territory related. I know it's so much deeper. Unfortunately, we don't have all the information and we can't necessarily touch on it for safety reasons. But there's people and children in areas like Eldorado Park, Westbury, Riverlea, I heard as well, that's losing their lives daily to gun violence. Children as young as the age of 12, having possession of guns, killing each other. Children need to run and hide for safety and their lives because they can't be seen, because their heads have been, they've put money on their heads and stuff like that. And the sad reality are these kids are in poverty, and these kids are not at school because unfortunately they have to be standing at the corners and doing this hustle. And another story that I heard is like how they get the induction of these kids is, okay, your mom can't afford the shoes, it's fine, don't worry, I'll buy the shoes. And when the child is comfortable and when the child is in this whole system, it's okay, the next thing that you need to do, level up, I need you to kill this person. And that's the sad reality of what is actually happening. And nowhere in the media am I seeing the reports of children's lives being missing. I mean, like just last week, we lost someone in Westbury, and I'm just like, okay, where was that in news? Because I didn't hear. And this is all children. So that's the reality of what we are facing, and nothing is being said or done about it from what I know.
Well, to go on to the issue of the media, the news that I do hear about what's happening, it seems like they try to play they try to further ingrain the stereotypes when they do report on the news. And this is just my personal observation. Look, people have their differing observations, but the things that I have been seeing where they do cover issues in colored communities, like for instance the gun violence, it's always a matter, and I'm not saying that because the reality of the matter is that this is a criminal activity, it is happening in the communities, and it is, like we said last week, it is colored on colored violence, right, that is happening in the communities. But then I ask myself the question, so what is the solution to it? Because obviously, as much as you report on the negative news, don't use stereotypes when you are reporting on the news. Like, news should be impartial and it should be practical, right? This is the situation that's happening, blah 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 blah. When it was the Nathaniel Julius and he was murdered in Eldorado Park, they represented that story quite well, because obviously it was that he was a Down syndrome boy and it was police brutality.
But there was also a massive push.
But there was
a massive push. Otherwise, it wouldn't have
But
been.
the reason why I'm using him as an example is for that reason that you were saying. I was about to get to that point but the reason why it was done is because people made a big boo about it. So it's almost as if you had to force their hand in order to keep the story going and to keep the story alive and to get justice for him. Because can you think about it? If there wasn't a major pushback,
those cops would have still been on the road.
Yes, they would have.
Definitely, 100% they would have been on the road. But while you were speaking, I was just thinking about something, is that it doesn't affect people outside of the community, so they don't have to care. So I know a lot of people in Elders, and we come from Elders originally, so we used to live there, and I could never understand the concept of like blocking the road and burning the tires or burning down something or doing whatever, because from from moving out of Eldos and not having to necessarily go there often, I'm like, I'm trying to make sense of how this is going to impact or influence somebody to make a move to assist. Because in my mind, I then bring it home to like, okay, if I have an issue at my house and I kind of burn down my bathroom now or break my taps or something, how is that going to assist somebody to come and help me fix it? I'm only now inconveniencing myself even more now. So I'm trying to understand the kind of mindset behind further putting myself into a worse position to try and get the attention of others. So I always to say this. I said, if I want the attention of the president, which was Zuma at the time, because this has been going on for a long time, or even now Cyril, I would then say, let me go take all those people, take 20 buses and go to Sandton or to Houghton or to somewhere where they now don't have a choice but to pay attention. Then go there and say, okay, right now, we're going to shut this place down, burn tires, start burning things, doing things there. And then it's like, now they're playing in my yard. So now I have to sort out the issue because now you're going to burn my things.
Yes.
So then that would cause them to say, hey, let me do something. But if I'm burning in my own yard, they're like, bro, I don't know anyone in Eldos. I don't have to go to Eldos. You cannot burn tires a whole year. It's not going to make a difference to their lives. You know what I'm
Didn't
saying?
that happen? Something like that you were telling me in one of the states in the, I think they took foreigners from Texas to...
So what happened, it was called Martha's Vineyard. And so what was going on is that, so in America there's a big fight between the left and the right? So the left is super liberal, so they believe you can just do whatever you want and life just goes on. And the right is more conservative. So they'll be like, yeah, but you can't just do this. There's rules and there's regulations. You can't just do how you please. And so the left was pushing this narrative of, you can just do what you want. You can just do. So the right said one day, okay, because the left was, open the borders. Let everyone come in. Let everyone just do how they feel. So they said, fine. So Martha's Vineyard is a place where a lot of the liberals go and have holidays and whatever. Like. So then the right said, okay, right. They took a whole plane full of immigrants. And when they go drop them off there, so it's like saying, let's take the whole Eldos and go squat there in Sandton, where the people are. And then 2 seconds later, they were like, oh, those people don't belong here. They must go back to their place. Then they were like, how? But you then said everyone must come, and you're just so liberal and everything. But now you're chasing people away. How does that work? And so it's kind of that play of, seeing that you don't want to deal with the issue, let me bring the issue to your doorstep, and then now you're forced to deal with it. But if I'm fighting there in Eldos, they couldn't give two flying, hoots that we fighting and shooting each other because it's not affecting them in any way, shape, or form. Must make a difference. You can all kill each other there in Eldos, so they don't worry.
Okay.
How is it going to affect them?
And going back to that point, that is actually so true, and the reality of it, because I think maybe like a month ago, we had this marching in Eldos where people were like either marching or driving like behind each other and even squatting at the police stations. I don't know if you guys know, because of this gun violence. And my thing is just, that was such a good initiative because they were coming to our community police station and being like, guys, can you please help?
Yes.
But that, I don't think that reached mainstream media the way it should have been, SABC News or whatever, to talk about, okay guys, this is actually happening, because like Xavier's saying, it was there, it had no effect on anyone else, and it didn't affect anyone else. So, you know what?
And it's not necessarily a solution. So I spoke at that thing when Zuma was in Eldos, right? I was with Darlene and them and those people that were pushing, and even Ashley Souls on Pizza.
Yeah.
We were all together pushing that. I was helping them edit the videos and stuff. We were pushing for that thing. And I spoke at the park there. They set up the whole thing. And even though I spoke there, I was always thinking, how is this going to fix the thing? Because then Zuma came and said, no, they're going to bring police and blah, blah, blah. So they parked the police vans there in the Extension 3 park, and they parked the police vans on every corner for like a month. And still to me, I'm like, okay, how is this solving the problem? How is this actively solving the problem?
Yeah.
It's not solving the problem. It's like saying you're struggling financially. Then I say, okay, I'm going to borrow you 100 rand every month for the next 6 months. Okay, here's 100 rand. Okay, here's 100. And after the 6 months, I leave. Now you still don't have anything to show for I helped you. I said I was going to help you, and I did help you. But did I really help you? It would have been another thing if I said, okay, come, I'm going to give you a skill. Or come work for me. Or come, I'm going to show you how I make money. Or come, I'm going to drug you in, I'm going to introduce you to X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Come, I'm going to plug you in with a contract. Come, then I'm saying, okay, I'm going to work with you for a year. After a year, then you must start sorting yourself out. But after that year, you've met people, you've connected with things, you've figured your way around things. And now if I leave you, now you can say, okay, right, I'm in a better space than I was a year ago. That is an actual solution to the problem. So if I look at what's going on in my communities, and I'm a brown man that's from Elders originally, and so it bothers me to see what's happening in my community. It does bother me. So people say, yeah, you moved out of Elders and whatever else the case might be. It's fine. But it still bothers me.
Yeah.
And we were running one of the largest youth ministries in South Africa. And majority of those people were from Elders. And we had that conversation yesterday. A lot of my team members that were from Elders are further than where they were 10 years ago. Because we would take people out of that space. Show them a different side of the world. There's team members that I took with me. There's Clay. There's some of the other guys. Even Leandra. We flew to America. We saw different things. We went to New York. Even though it wasn't necessarily something that I could give you in finances or whatever, my aim was to, guys, come, let's go and see something. Maybe trigger something in your mind. Maybe you can be exposed to something different. There's Ashley Swartz. He did the same thing. He took a group of people to Washington. In the life of that individual, they have now been exposed to something. They can dream a bigger dream. They can see. They have a visa to travel. You know, it's like, what can we do? And say, okay, guys, this is the situation. But instead of giving us like a gun, come, let us come together. We say, okay, 10 businessmen here in Elders. You have a tuck shop, you have this, you have that, you have that. Come, let's take us like this somewhere just to broaden their horizon. Or come, let's figure out how we can put them into a program. And then at the end of this program, Mr. Fonseca does that. At the end of this yearly program, we're traveling to what? So it's an incentive. Hey, guys, end of the year, we're going to America. End of the year, we're going to Dubai. It's an incentive. And to me, I think we need to start wrapping our minds around those kind of thoughts more.
Yes. So long-term solutions.
Medium to longer-term solutions. There's gens that are doing well with trading even in Elders. Even Jezo does trading, those kind of things. How do we say, okay, gens, let's get a group of gens into a room and say, okay, right, come, for the next 6 months, we're going to just focus on strategies. We're going to focus on this. We're going to focus on that. Even if we don't say, because I also don't believe in doing things for people for free also. I believe saying, there don't have the money, right?
Of responsibility.
Yeah, there needs to be some responsibility. I say, okay, fine, you don't have the money. Okay, pull through. We're going to do this for X amount. I'm going to pay you, let's say, and this is the conversation we had yesterday. Let's say I say I'm going to pay you 5,000 Rand, but I'm going to deduct this for that for that, and that for that. So you're going to get 2,000 Rand. So what that's teaching you as an individual is like, I'm earning my 5 grand, but I'm also learning responsibility because I'm actually paying for this and I'm paying for that. Because that's preparing you for the real world. Because in the real world, you must pay rent, you must pay a bond, you must pay your car, you must pay things. And that to me is more forward thinking than just saying, how we must bring the police here, we must do this, we must do that. And but it's a slower process. It's not the instant result. And that I think is the issue. It's a long-term, slower process. So I don't know. That's just my 5 cents. I don't know what you think about it.
So before we continue with the conversation, I was watching, and I was telling you earlier, I was watching a segment on Carte Blanche, their YouTube channel, and it was a segment that they posted on the 1st of August 2022, and they basically went into Cape Town. You know that Cape Town, especially the colored communities in Cape Town, is well known. They are notorious for their gangs, right, and their gun violence. And so they did like a couple of interviews, and they interviewed this one gang member or whatever the case may be, this one gang. And obviously they were wearing balaclava, so you couldn't really make out their faces. And the gang leader now, he's the eldest, he's 33 years old, and you know he's had a spate of prison visits and killing and all those things. So anyway, so they have a conversation with him, and they look at and they ask him, so what is this all about? And what was very alarming for me, right, and this is the reason why I asked you guys before the show, do you think this is domestic terrorism? Because now it's not just like Xavier, you were saying we speaking about poverty and marginalization, but the situation in Cape Town from this guy's testimony, he says that we don't do this for money. We do this to kill. We are blood hunters. So do you think that the situation has escalated over time? Because I think that it was a matter of getting territory, turf, to sell drugs, and that obviously has a monetary incentive. So to say that this is not for money. But I think that because people have been so conditioned, and I mean, these are, how old was that boy when he was introduced to gangsterism? And this just becomes a generational cycle. And then they ask him, and he says, no, we do this just to kill. It's for the blood. We do it for the blood. And then, because they call themselves career gangsters. Well, they are called career gangsters. So this is what they do for a living. So obviously you can't say that it's not for money. But do you think that the people in the community has become so conditioned, especially the young impressionable minds, have become so conditioned to the violence that psychologically this anger arises? Because one of the ladies that is from one of the organizations there, she said, it was also a brown lady, and she was saying, it's sad to see, and it's the reason why this is so dangerous is because we are going to have a completely missing generation. That is where we are at, where we are literally killing all the men, or we are incarcerating them. So they
remember,
are
there's also a spiritual element here.
Yes.
And remember, Satan's plan was always, and we had it on our show so many times, was always to remove the male in the whole equation, because that's the father, that's the priest of his house. So get rid of that. You get rid of a bunch of things. You mess up the whole family nucleus now. You have now a kid that's growing up without his dad, especially a boy child. So now he doesn't know how to conduct himself. Yeah. So now he ends up chilling with a gent on the corner. And they also didn't have fathers, so they kind of trying to figure it out as they're going along. And then they end up getting involved in things because they need money. And then one thing leads to the next. And it's easier to make money that way. And then and I do believe that, like you said, it is, and it's a long-term conditioning. It's a thing that's been going on.
Yeah.
So to undo that, unfortunately, is going to take a while. But that doesn't take it away that we can't start or that we can't push.
Absolutely. Another thing also, and I agree with it 100%, unfortunately, when you replay something to anyone continuously, they do become almost unaffected by the causes of it because they become comfortable with it, if I can put it in that terms. And with what's happening in Cape Town, I refuse to believe that any child at the age of 12-year-old is inclined or born with the desire to want to kill or do gruesome acts. That child is conditioned, and whether it's from fear, whether it's from anger because of the state of where they were living or how they are living, everything is conditioned. And the sad reality of this is we're going to have to deal with mindset. But another way to combat mindset, it's not to say, okay, now we lost everything. To change mindset, I truly believe that you have to change the environment through exposure. Like Xavier was saying, there's so many things that we can do. Take the young children out and show them. The sad reality is it's just like, it is going to be a long stretch of how to begin, but it's fine because something can be done.
It's a long-term solution.
The thing is, look, inevitably, it's going to take time. Yeah. Because like you were saying, you now have to redo, you have to reprogram.
Yes,
you have to reprogram a mind that maybe a 12-year-old mind or even a 30-year-old mind, you have to reprogram it, because you can't just say, okay, we're going to start with the kids and we're going to forget about the adults, because, there's still the issue of the adults that is stuck in that mindset. But Jess, do you want to get into the comments and then give your opinions on what we have been speaking about, and then we will continue to the next segment?
Okay, we have Keegan. He says, comment, like, and subscribe.
Thank
That's
you,
right, brother.
Keegan.
That's right. Then he says, Zuma came to Eersterus while he was the president. Things were happening before he came. After he left, everything left as well. We only have one police van now for the whole community.
Wow.
Everyone is looking for opportunity.
Look, again, we can't take away from the fact that our public servants, our law enforcement is putrid. Not saying that you have to brush everybody with the same brush, but it's majority of them. What can the few who are upright do in a situation like that, right? I when I was watching that thing on Carte Blanche, they were talking about active, what do you call it? They said proactive policing, where they do search, stop and searches. So they will stop you in the middle of randomly and they will search you. But what do you guys think? Does the issue, apart from what we were talking about, it is a mindset issue and whatever, but do you think that our law enforcement, the powers that be, have a role to play in what we are seeing? Do you think that it makes it that much more difficult for there to be order if the law and order is not in order?
I mean, I agree. I do agree, because if we take it from a standpoint of what they should be doing, then things should have been okay. And I'm not going to blame everything on them, because they can't, they're also human and it's dangerous. They need to. But I feel like corruption has a big role to play in this. Corruption and the availability of things that were not even supposed to be there through the police force. So I do believe that they can, and something could be done if they were upright and, they vow to the responsibility. But I do feel like, okay, yes, it is the community, but something could have been done through them, and where are they?
Yeah.
I think, I agree with that 100%. I think the police lost that whole authority. People don't respect them the way they used to, and it just makes it that much more easier for these gang members and these criminals to do what they're doing, because it's like, okay, you're gonna pick me up tomorrow, I'm gonna give you something, I'm out again.
Talk about
Yes.
tomorrow, I think
Mindset.
of it when they're always crawling out of a bucket.
And they don't even chase him.
In a traffic, it's like
Literally.
climb out of a bucket while a police van.
He spills like water out of
He
it.
ran. Now, but for me,
Sure.
the problem does stem from the top, because I'm 35 years old, right? But I can remember a time where if you saw police, you were like, yo, here's the police. I remember a time when you saw traffic officers and you were like, let me make sure my seatbelt is on. Now it's like, these ones, what are they going to do? You give him a 5 rand and 10 rand, is all right. He's not going to do anything. Because
True.
that level of respect is missing. And for good reason, because 90% of them are corrupt. 90% of them will take the 50 rand. 90% of them will just come look around your car now for something that's wrong.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's nothing wrong, what he still asks.
You know what happened the one time? I was coming up here from the prison here, and as I was driving up, so I was with my black car. And then, and the black car almost has a big subwoofer in the back and whatever. So now he stops me, asks for my license, give him the license, he checks, nothing wrong. He goes to the desk, nothing wrong. He walks around, all tires are fine. It's not smooth or anything. Now I can see, that's one. He's now looking for something
Fishing.
because it's almost lunchtime. And they even make it so obvious. Remember the other day we said we drove to go buy something around 1 o'clock, and we're like, there's someone's make it so obvious at 12 o'clock they now stay. One van, 2 hours stopping people because they must now get something for lunch. So it's like, bruh, this is so obvious. You just decided I'm gonna stop now your shop to see how much I can quickly get to go buy me lunch. And then
And you go and you come back and gone. They
yeah,
look
when
at
we
like 10
when we came
minutes.
back from buying the food, they were gone. So Jesse said, "Yeah, they make it so obvious. Like, nicely come lunchtime because they know they're gonna shop, make something." So now that's was walking around the car is now looking for issue. You know what he ends up saying? He says, "Where's your triangle?" I'm like, "My triangle is in the boot." He's like, "Come and see."
Hey.
So I open the boot and there's a big subwoofer. That's why I mentioned that earlier. Now there's a big sub. I'm like, hey, bruh, do you now want me to disconnect the whole sound system to show you that I have a triangle? You see, my tires are alright, my desk is alright, my license is not expired.
know.
What do you actually want? After that, he looks at me because then he realized, like, what's the chances that I was not gonna have a triangle? There's nothing wrong with his tires, his license. He give my license back. I close the boot, I drive, and I didn't have a triangle.
Wow.
But the point I'm
you
making,
were wrong.
The point I'm making is he was now crapping now. They were not checking to now look for something because he actually wanted now 100 rand or something.
Yeah.
And guys, come I give you a tip. Don't give them money. They're too lazy to fill in that book anyways. And after they fill it in, they must take it in. They must go do some more admin there at the place. They're not gonna do it. So if you say you don't have money, the chances that they're going to give you the ticket, and even if they do give it to you, the chances that they're going to go do the admin when they get back there is probably 0 to 10% of those who actually will go and do the admin. So nothing will come off that ticket anyway. So there's a pro tip. Don't give them anything anyway.
But that's a good point, because don't feed the monster.
Exactly.
That's the thing. If we want to stop corruption, we play a big part in it as
Exactly, 'cause you're
civilians.
feeding it.
We play a big part in it as civilians. I think that more voices need to stand up to say that we need to keep people accountable. You cannot be in these positions that our tax money is paying and not do what you were supposed to. You cannot not protect the people who are paying taxes in order to have those benefits that the country is supposed to be giving them. It's ridiculous that we are like this. Speaking about the police, on that the segment on carte blanche, they're having an interview with this gangster, And he says the following words. Remember last week we were speaking about the weapons. Where does these weapons come from? It's illegal weapons. Where does it come from? And we were saying, well, one of the biggest issues is that there is the alleged... they are saying allegedly, I have to use these words for legal purposes, that allegedly it is coming from the police. And this guy admits, the gangster, he says, we buy it from the police because they don't get a lot of money from the state.
Wow.
But that's what I said last week, remember? I said they get all these weaponry and stuff from people, that they take it off people and stuff like that. And then it's never, I don't know what's it called, but it's never like filed for sake of this conversation. They don't file it or anything. They keep it with them and then they sell it. It's the same with the drugs. When they catch someone with the drugs and stuff, they don't take it in. They go out and they sell that drugs again because they know there's profit from it. We didn't spend anything on it. Whatever we make, it's 100% profit of it. So they just go on and they sell the stuff.
Now, it's funny that we're mentioning, doesn't this lead back to the question you opened, and you were saying that people, and I think the police force falls under it as well, they're demanding better pay because, But another thing, a story that I heard that was actually happening in the community. So the few boys that's standing on the corner doing what they need to do, the police stops and finds them. Few young boys, asks them if they have anything on them, drugs, weapons. They say no, they don't. So the police puts them in the van and he drives off to a secluded area where the community can't necessarily see, and hits them bad, like bad, faces swollen, body injured and whatever, and drives off and leaves them there. So my question is, do we fix situations by hitting these young boys, leaving them there and driving off because we believe, okay, we hit them, we beat them, this is how we're going to fix the situation? Where the law could be, take these kids, rehabilitate them, we can maybe put them in jail or whatever the case may be. But how is the police force helping with causing even more damage to these kids? Because I'm very for mental health, and I think all of that contributes to an individual's life and where an individual like ends up in life, And yes, we can talk about the police force giving these guns or whatever, but even the way they deal with these youngsters and the way the community deals with these youngsters, we're pushing them into the hands of this violence because everything is reactive with violence. And my thing is, where does it stop? And where do we embrace these young boys to say, listen, it doesn't need to be this way. Think about rehabilitation and stuff like that.
But then you have to give them money, because remember, the hustle is real out here. And
True.
if they're making that quick money, to them they're like, bruh, I can make... So there's a friend of ours that everyone is familiar with, and he always shares his story. When he was selling drugs and he was doing things he shouldn't have been doing, he was making money, he was owning cars, he was doing whatever. Then when he got saved, right, God changed his life, blah, 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 like instantly, immediately, like from one Sunday to the next Sunday, the guy's in church, he's saved, didn't go back on drugs, didn't sell drugs, nothing. And when he shares his story, he always said, and he's spoken to me personally like a bazillion times, and he said, Zex, you know how difficult it is, bruh. It's hard, bruh. I used to make someone now 10,000, 15,000 quick. If the children need nappies, I go out, I come back with a 20 towel. I go buy nappies, I put petrol in my car, I do whatever quickly. Now, bruh, hey, bruh, the money is scarce. Then he move in with his wife and her sister. He had to stay there for a while. And he's like, Aaron, he's my car, alles soos hy gehad. Nou moet ek sukkel. But God changed his life around. And the good thing about his story, that same hustle he had when he was selling drugs, he's now hustling with his business. Now he has 3 different businesses, pulling in 3 streams of income.
Yeah.
But now guess what the beauty is? Now, and he used to tell me, he says, because in the community, go cut hair and everything that owns are blooming at the bar. He says, bruh, when I'm blooming at the barber shop, I mean, like us man is cutting my, I'm looking at the door the whole time to see if us man is going to come in. I'm looking at the door the whole time because some nonsense that I caught on somewhere there during the week, I'm bang the owns are going to now come catch me here in the shop. He says, now, the things that I do now is legit. I can go cut my hair, I can sit lekker, I can talk to the Owens, I can even now minister to the Owens. I can literally, I can
There's
love
peace.
my kids are alright. I know no one's gonna go plan my children at school because your father did this and your father did that. It's like I can relax, I can breathe. And now he's making twice as much as what he was when he was. But that transition over, that little space there,
It's hard.
is where the spiritual aspect also comes in, because the only thing that kept him
Yes.
was the fact that he got saved, and he was like, okay, I can't go back to that life. I can't go. And he made a deal with God. Remember, he mentioned it. He said, I made a deal with God to say that when I was in the world, I was successful. Now I'm living for you. I can't now come and stay in back rooms.
Yeah.
You need to help me become successful, more successful than what I was in the world, so that my testimony has more power. And his testimony carries so much power, because now people can look at him and say, yo, this man, when he was catching on nonsense, he was rich, but now he's even more successful doing the right thing. And I think that transition there is where a lot of people are like, I can leave this, but then how am I going to pay for this? How am I going to cover this? How am I going to solve? Because the easy money is lucrative and,
Yeah.
and it's appealing. And that's the challenge. How do we give them that? That's what I'm saying. There needs to be finance somewhere in the thing where we say, come in, I'm going to pay you X, but then you have to give back this because I'm giving you this. So you're basically paying for your own education, but you can go home with something.
Yeah.
I think that's the trade-off that we need to generate.
Another thing, I'm so sorry.
No,
I'm so
don't
sorry.
apologize. Continue.
That's actually a perfect example. It's something that I spoke about last week, the importance of representation. And I think that plays a big role. If we can get someone in the community like that comes from that lifestyle, and we can say to these boys, no, listen, this is where I come from. There is a way out. Because I do believe representation in the community is lost, because unfortunately the drug dealers or whatever are living it up. And this is what the people that are struggling see. So it's easy to say, okay, he has a car, he has 5 cars, his kids, okay, everything is fine, look at his shoe.
Why
He
not?
says he can,
Yeah.
this is easy, let me
Yeah.
get there. But if we have enough representation to show that, yes, it takes a little bit longer, whatever the case may be, but there is a different way, we can actually win this thing.
So we've got a couple of minutes left to the show, and I just want to say thank you to everybody who's continued
That
to...
was too quick.
Yeah. Right. So thank you to everybody who continues to watch. We will get into the comments now with Jess, but I'd just like to ask you to please, if you haven't done so already, please like. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. You can also hit that notification bell so that you can know when we are on. It will give you a notification as to when we are on, just so that it also helps the algorithm. Sometimes YouTube does shadow ban certain content for their own political agenda. But, you know, when you hit that notification bell, you are part of the family, and you will know when we are having, when we have shows. Jess is going to get into the comments, and then I want to go into the issue of paying it forward, right? Because that's also important. I do think that you are blessed to be a blessing. I don't think that God just blesses us for ourselves, because he's not a selfish God. So he does not empower selfish people. So I do think that it's important to pay it forward. Then Jess will get into the conversation, and then I'll ask the question, how do you think we can pay it forward? Because you mentioned representation, and representation is very important. Xavier mentioned the thing about responsibility, and you have to sacrifice, because another issue among the culture, I'd say culture, yes, is we want name brands, nice things. It's the way that we have been raised. It's a mindset that we have been raised in. No, you must look good. You must look right. You must. You know. It just further perpetuates the competition, unhealthy competition that we instill in our kids. And so then we'll go. So we'll talk about paying it forward, but also breaking that unhealthy competitive culture and name brands, things that we cannot afford, trying to play big in small China. Jess, over to you.
Okay, we have Chanel that said, evil thrives when the good keep silent. Thanks for speaking out against the evil of gang violence. Then Keegan, referring to Xavier's comment, says, I was written a ticket for loading 9 ladies from my wife's cell, probably a cell group, in my car. I was stopped and I got a ticket for 750 Rand. Till today, there is no record of that ticket. A miracle or kansvat.
That happened to me too. 2 tickets, and each one was 1,500 Rand. I took the ticket because I was like, I'm not going to pay. And when I went to go renew my license disc, then they were like, oh no, these tickets have not been...
I've never paid tickets. I've got tickets multiple. That's how I know for a fact they don't go back and go for that thing. It's easier for them to make. It's again back to the same thing. It's easy for me just to make 100 Rand here, then to now go and do all this admin now for this little money that I'm getting. So it doesn't make sense for them to go
But
for
some
it.
of them is tough to... You say write a ticket. Man, won't write a ticket.
You want the money.
You want the money.
Like, but but look now again, they're on that issue, Natchez, before you go. Then you give a loophole to actual criminals and road hogs to do what they want to do. Again, the law enforcement fails. Because now you want to give tickets or you want to get money from people who are doing the right thing. They are renewing their licenses. They are hustling money to get tires fixed and to get windscreens
You
fixed.
do the right thing.
You are hustling out
You
here,
also check-
and now you must not pay for
doing the
that.
right thing. and
Come and
don't
tell
work.
you what happened. They pull me over.
Yeah.
My license disc was expired. I say, hey, unfortunately, I know it's expired. You can give me the ticket, everything. He say, ish, no plan. I say, hey, my man, I have no money. There's no plan.
If I had money, I
If
would
I
have
had-
gone
yeah.
renew the license.
He says, hey, no plan. I say, I don't have anything. Plus, it's almost Christmas, and I still need to buy gifts for the children. There's no money. I can't do nothing now. He say, hey. Yeah, no. I stood there maybe 15 minutes. Him waiting for me to make a plan. I log into my bank account. I show him, this is all I have. I don't have anything. He says, it's all right, send that.
Just see.
I look at him, I think, yeah, you devil. But like I say that, I think, okay, good shot. Because with Capitec, I get the stuff, then I must send it to his number.
Yeah.
Hi. I say, okay, how much you want? I even ask him how much you want. Say, give me all of it. I say, okay, no stress.
Just
Yeah, no.
That's a criminal.
I-
Give me all your money.
Yo, I send it to him.
Literally.
Yeah, and I tell you, like I pull away there. I say, Capitec. I throw my money back.
Yeah, good shot. Good shot. Oh my God. Yeah, see, that is a criminal. That is a bully.
Just die my e-wallet, you can't take your geld weer terug.
That is criminal mindset.
With FNB, it's a bit more difficult because the code goes directly to them. With Capitec, you have to send to yourself first and then give
Like
it to
there, they
that
took his
person.
whole biltong.
Yes.
Like me, that's
Give me that biltong.
like with me the one time. Yeah, those people is, I'm eating biltong. Now you know the biltong have wet criminals and stuff. So it's all here on the seat now. That man say, you are rolling weed. I say, it's not weed, this is from the biltong. He say, you are rolling weed, I can see.
How
that.
do they have
The
such
butter
sharp
from the
eyes for
weed.
such things,
I
eh?
say,
Potatoes.
he say, I can see the butter from the weed. I say, it's not butter, this is the biltong. This is the... I say, yo, those people. I say, you want to lock me up for biltong?
Criminals.
For biltong criminals. He says, I was swaying a zone.
Smoking biltong.
These people.
Alright, guys, so pay it forward with these last few minutes. How do we pay it forward? I was telling you earlier, look, Xavier is working on something. He does have good connections, even Jesse. So they are basically
We're gonna start something decent.
they are working on something. But we cannot disclose that at the moment. But at the Inside Show, this is the reason why we started this podcast studio in the first place. It's not just a matter of, yes, we bring conversations that don't make it to mainstream media. We bring the conversations here, but we also proactively work. The Inside Studio is at Crystal Church SA, and Crystal Church SA is big on, we have a destiny vision. The first one is dream big, establish strong families, seek social justice. The T in it is train and equip leaders, and we do that. We do that in the programs that we have. Xavier was speaking about Mr. Fonseca earlier that takes kids. He's got a program. He's a member in Crystal Church. He takes kids overseas and he trains them. We also have in Crystal Church, they've got something called the Mentor 16 program, and they mentor 16-year-olds on how to, because like we were saying, Xavier, remember, the spiritual aspect, you cannot take away the spiritual aspect. We are mind, body, spirit, and soul, body, spirit, or mind and soul interchangeably used. But we are this entire a holistic being, and sometimes we try to fix the physical, like for instance rehabilitations. And look, I've got nothing against rehabilitations because something needs to be done.
That's
but
one
now you
part.
try
That's
to
one part
fix-
of the solution.
Yeah.
You try to fix the physical, you try to detox, and that's important because the body needs to detox from that. But what about the spiritual element? What about the mind? What are you feeding the mind?
We
Because
have to fix all three. Yeah.
the devil finds work for idle hands, but also he finds work for idle minds. When you are polluting your mind with a lot of nonsense and you are not equipping your mind with resources, with information, proper constructive information, the devil's going to find work for you to do, and that's why we see what we are seeing. But paying it forward again, like we mentioned, Crystal Church, it is run by a brown couple, so they do invest a lot in community, they invest a lot in members, and we see the results of it, right? But other ways to pay it forward based on those three elements, what do you guys think?
So even with me, the way I play my part, I'm very big on mindset and then starting from the bottom, because that's how we do things. And I've started this a very long time ago, and I'm on board with it again. And everyone can meet me on my social media at tashlyn.low on Instagram for the young girls, because I do mentor young girls. I have an organization called She's Royalty, and you can hit me up on Instagram if you need a mentor, if you need help with your schoolwork, or you just don't know the way forward. And I normally do it from the ages of 13 all the way to 18, just to sit with you, mentor you, get you connected with people out there. So if they are interested, they can definitely hit me up on my social, send me a DM, and I'd be very happy to respond back and just get into interaction with you. And for me, that's my part in what I can do and play for now, until God takes me to new heights. Amen. And I can be a blessing.
Amen.
A bigger blessing to others.
No, we support you in that. But sorry, Zakes, before you go, what is the other Instagram handle? It's tashlyn.low for the one, and the other
and then
one?
She's Royalty is, it's different. I will put it down in the comments, and then you guys can check it out.
Okay, cool. So
And then they can DM on that as well.
So we'll put those details in the description. Please do give Tashlyn a follow and support her. Like we were saying last week, support, representation, support.
Yes.
It's important. So we should stop gunning each other down. Excuse the pun on that. But we should stop doing that. We should start uplifting each other. We should start supporting each other. When we see another person doing something in the community that's positive, support that person. Because the more, like Chantal was saying, that evil thrives when the good are silent. But now the good are speaking, and then evil tries to silence the good, and the good try to silence the good. So I think that we should stop that. Zakes, you paid forward.
I was gonna say, just based on your other comment also, that's part of the reason also why Christian rehabs are one of the most successful rehabs, because they deal with the other elements also.
Yes.
They deal with the spiritual side and the detoxing side and the mental side. So it kind of brings you a overall holistic kind of view. That's why a lot of the guys that come out of those rehabs actually do quite well. But the paid forward part is, for me personally, I've mentored people over all these years. I'm a lot older also, so I've worked with a lot of young people over the years. But what my main thing is now is I'm working on that financial side of things, because that is a big one. When they
Money is power.
when they see, okay, right, because that's the first point of interest also, because when it's like in a relationship, the first point is the looks.
Yeah.
I like how she looks. Then only you go talk and then see where it goes from there. But that kind of initial connection is you liked what you saw. And so with this kind of thing, the initial connection is, how much can I make? Because this is why scams work. This is why a lot of these guys get away with these kind of things, because they tell you, nah, just bring 100 rand, you're going to have a 10,000, so people check you away. Boom. And that's the first thing they do. So if I'm working on a solid way of now bringing a financial side where I can say, okay, guys, I'm taking 10 people. This is the financial blessing that you get out of this after X amount of time. But like I was telling you yesterday, more so, the financial is actually just dangling the carrot. You are getting the money. It's not that you're not going to get it. You will definitely get it. But it's more so the motivation behind, okay, but before you get it, let's deal with the spiritual side, and let's also deal with the mental and emotional
Because you
side.
are teaching discipline.
Exactly. Let's
and
grow
building
discipline.
character.
And I was telling you about the movie Coach Carter. Have you ever seen the movie Coach Carter?
Yeah.
Do yourself a big favor and go watch Coach Carter, right?
It's an old movie, but
It's a very old movie. I think it's Samuel L. Jackson, right? Where he's a teacher at a school. But the school, the people are already saying, whoa, this school, whoa, those children, whoa, they come from here, they come from there. Then he says, nah, give me a chance, I'm going to teach us like this. Then he comes to the school. Basketball coach. Then he comes to the school. Then the lighters are pulling the chairs, sitting dear makar, being disrespectful. Have you ever heard the poem, Our Deepest Fear is not that we are inadequate, our deepest fears they were, but that's from the movie Coach Carter, right? That's what made that poem so popular. Then the lighters are all over the place. Then he says, when they come in, yeah, what's up? Then he stops and he says, when we come here, we don't say what's up. We say good morning, sir. Then some of the lighters are like, ish, yeah. Then they're like, good morning, sir. Then the other lighters are like, what, sir, is us, man? Wow, we stay in the kasi, we don't come, sir, yeah, and what. Then the one light in particular, go watch the movie, he's like a heart in the mouth. He's like, I won't, sir, nothing. Me, I'm of the streets and what. Then something happens to him.
Sterk gevreed.
And then something happens to him. One of his cousins gets shot or something. Then he's like, who can I now go ask for help? Then he remembers, ish, coach. Then he runs to coach's house like, coach, please, blah, blah, blah. Then coach says, okay, I come in. Then coach helps him. Then he realizes, ish, this man wasn't there to try and see our downfall. He was trying to teach us discipline this whole time. Then at the end, all the ones are wearing suits and ties and they're calling each other sir and blah, blah, blah. But the whole point of the movie is what a nightmare it was to teach those like it's just basic discipline. And to me, I know that it's going to be a journey like that movie. It's going to be like others are not going to want to accept the discipline others. But in the long run,
you're going to get the
somebody's going to say, yeah, somebody's going to say, ain't look, this thing is better if we do it properly.
Yeah.
And not a get rich quick thing. So the money will be an incentive, but more so the discipline, the mindset, like you say, and all that needs to be solid.
Yeah.
Because you can give someone, go watch things of people who won the lotto and things, then they don't know what to do
They
with the
blow
money.
their money,
Yeah,
yeah.
because the fundamentals and the stability needs to first be solid. And when you make
because
that kind of
they
money,
didn't have that huge responsibility before. But when you have all that responsibility, it becomes so much more difficult to keep that money. But Jess, over to you. Closing remarks.
Yeah. No, very,
Yane.
Yane, very good conversation, guys. Thank you, WOMX. Some good insights there, brother. I taught you very well. No, but I agree 100%. That's where, obviously, we know it starts at home. And we need to get to a point where, like Xavier said, we bring these kids into a room and we teach them discipline and we show them that this is the right way. Because whether we like it or not, money is the main thing in the situation. A lot of them, like if we were people even judge, like when you watch Dharma, you judge that small boy for going into the room. But at the end of the day, it was done for money because he knows he's desperate. A lot of them also don't want to get into it, but they see the family situation, the family struggling, so they're like, let's try and help the family out. They not knowing in the long run it's going to be hurting the family. But yeah, many a times it starts with the money. So we need to get to a point, like Xavier said, where we teach them how to obtain money, but in a legal way and manage it as well. Not
Obtain and maintain.
obtain and maintain. Hallelujah. How to obtain and maintain this money in a legal way, not just running around and doing the bad things. And teach them patience at the end of the day. But at the end of the day, the patience comes with sanity. So you know your patience, you're getting money, but you can at least remain sane. Where if you do it the fast way, you lose your sanity in that sense. And show them, because I feel like many times we water it down. We make it sound so cool to be a gangster and to do these things. And that's why they want to do it. Like when we stay, there's this boys also there. I think they're in trading as well. But they look like they're doing quite well. They're successful. It's like 3 boys that live there. They have nice cars, all that type of stuff. And the one day I'm walking past, and these small boys are sitting there, and I'm listening to the conversation, and they're like, nah, they must be gangsters. They have money. And when I walked up, I'm like, but why must it be that youngsters that have money must always be in a gang or something? Why can't we change the mindset to say that
because
there
that's
is
how it's always been. Like,
but
if you're doing well, you must be doing something wrong.
So I'm thinking, but we need to get to a point where we change that mindset.
Yes.
Because it's just gonna continue like that. And this isn't even in the community. This is outside. It's in the suburbs. And this is already the mindset that's out there. So we need to try and change that and let kids understand, because that's where it starts. It starts at the roots. We need to get them to understand that it's not just gangsters that have money. You can obtain this well in a much better way.
Yes.
Whether it's through trading, whether it's through social media marketing and all that. So 100%. So we need to get to that and get the knowledge out there, because the only knowledge they know now is that in order to be successful, you need to be a gangster. So, yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody, for your positive insights that you shared. Thank you so much for everybody in the comment section as well in the live chat. And for those of you afterwards who will be, if you would like to drop a comment, please do so. And we do read your comments. Trust me, we do. We read your comments. And like today, we responded to one of the comments. But also on that note, Jess, and the reason I did a poll on my Instagram once again, and I asked, what are some of the common colored stereotypes? Not many people interacted. I got one response. That whole thing of, where people are like, because Trevor Noah also made it a thing. And then, And then, yeah. And then another thing is that aware. I don't mind that, if you're going to aware me, it's fine because I love it. It's part of my culture. I'm proud of it. But then another thing is also that, you gangsterism and alcoholism and stuff like that. But then I thought about it, and I'm at the point in my life where I no longer get offended so quickly. And that's the reason why I think that I've reached, a level of maturity. And it takes time. There are certain things that, will, scratch where.
But how you handle it.
But how you handle it is important. And then it got me thinking, and once again, going back to last week's conversation, we need to be critical about the part that we play in creating those stereotypes. Because it doesn't just come from nowhere. Yes, people are continuing to perpetuate those stereotypes, and that doesn't help the community. But I think that we need to question, like we did now, why do people say that? Is it true what they are saying, and how can we counteract that? And I think that is what we got to in this morning's show. So I want to say thank you once again, everybody, and to every person that is watching, every single person, irrespective of color, creed. Let us all work together to bring changes. And I think that the reason why we do this specifically for the colored community, because it's in arm's reach. We can reach it. But in your communities, wherever the community is, or your family, start there. If you are by means to do so, reach out in your family. It might not necessarily be financially. Maybe you can just visit with a prayer, visit with a how are you doing? Because you were talking about mental health. Sometimes because people look past each other these days, including families, we look past each other. But hi, how you doing? Is everything okay? When last did we do something like that? And I think that is little ways that we can, work towards improving our communities, our families, our communities, and then the country as a whole. And I think that the more we become responsible with our actions, it will, instead of trickling down, it will make its way up. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. We really do appreciate it. Until next week, see ya. Bye.